All right, we are live. How was that for fast? Work for you? We are live. Like that quickly.
I just put my audio on. What?
We're live.
Wow. Hallelujah. Episode 98, your age. You had your birthday, so your age.
98. You were even in Vegas by now. 1998. Here we go, right?
I was in 97.
So 98. That is 22 years ago. In 1998, I just turned, well, shit, I wasn't even 21 yet. I turned 21 at the end of 98.
Wow.
Wow. All right, guys, we are just coming off, we have our level 10 meetings every Wednesday morning at 8. So sometimes we go a little late, but we had a great meeting this morning with our director of operations, Danielle Burns. I'm sure she'll love that. Also with our amazing broker team of Georgia Papora and Jennifer Hill and my father and I. So it's always fun when we laugh a little bit. And here we are. So let's pop out another some information. Let me give you the topics of today, Pops, since you never know what the topics are. Melissa, thank you for being prompt and on time. Melissa texted me and said, "Where the hell are you guys?" And that's not what she said, but she's here watching. So beautiful. Let people kind of join in and get started. Here we are at the Dave and Dave Show, episode 98. You know what's interesting, Pops? I get the updates every week on the episodes, like episode 20 and episode 50 and episode 70, and I watch them because some good info in there, and I forget about what we talked about, but I also could always tell, like, I could tell what year it was just by how my face looks, how skinny you are or I am, right? Like that's kind of the line.
Oh, what year? Yeah, because they go back all those years.
Well, that's the thing. Here we are at episode 98, and I guess we could talk about this at episode 100, but I think it's apropos, being the end of the year and being 2020. It was a big deal to go live 3-4 years ago when me and you went live, and I said, here's what we're going to do, because for a couple years prior to that we went live all the time to our company,
Right.
but we weren't going to the general audience, and it seems so natural now, and I don't want to be Al Gore and say we invented the internet, but the reality is no one was doing this in Vegas before we did this. Seems like everybody has a show and everybody has, live videos and production companies and all this whatever now. But they forget we started out with a commitment to the truth and being honest and having a conversation with all of you and saying, hey, we're going to talk to the public too. We're going to talk to all of our friends. We're going to talk to everybody. And we're not going to hold back. So
It's not in our personalities to hold back, baby.
but it was a little uncomfortable at first. I mean, everyone talks about putting on the live video, especially the live. You never know what's going to come out. You never know if you're going to be able to hold.
Uncomfortable now. We have no problems.
And he's talking all this like confidence, but the Dave and Dave show was my idea, and he was a little weird about it at first, and he wouldn't talk about anything, and I had to keep pushing the envelope over and over and over again. And all 98 episodes, you know who came up with the content? Me. But
that's because I like to be the one that creates the static in the episode.
Oh, that's such BS. All right, let's talk about the Dave and Dave show, episode 98. I put the cure for 2020. And then I put, are you in alignment with your environment and your values? Because we talked about alignment a lot today, and I want to continue that conversation. What is the ROI on your brokerage? Listen, this is moving season for agents. And it's a great time to think about how much money did I give to my company and how much value did I get? And is that in alignment, right? Are you getting what you need and want from where you're at? Our agents included, baby. And then the abundance mentality towards the real estate market is the only way forward. And we talked about this on the broker roundtable just for our agents yesterday. So let's jump in first with the cure for 2020. The cure for 2020 is you. Why are you laughing?
I was going to say the cure for 2020 is going to be different for a lot of people in a lot of ways. One of my cures for 2020 is the vaccine. When I said that yesterday, a lot of people, the anti-vaxxers came on, which is okay. You know, I'm not putting, but for me, part of the cure for 2020 is to get that shot.
But it's not the vaccination. It's you.
Right.
And that's part of your path, right? I didn't write down this quote, but I was watching a movie yesterday. I don't know if you ever seen this movie. It's called A Most Violent Year. You ever seen this movie?
I don't think so.
Well, there's a quote, and he said, "The result is never in question for me. Just what path do you take to get there? And there is always one path that is most right. And that is what this is." Which I loved, right? Because there's such a certainty in this statement of where we're going to end up. It's just how you get there. And I think that's kind of one of the most difficult things. You had resolve. You've been resilient. You had your plan the entire time. I am going to do this for this amount of time. The vaccine comes out. Other people, they had their other plan. I'm young. I'm healthy. I'm going to play COVID roulette. And boom, I'm going to live my life fully. That was
I like to gamble, so I would play COVID roulette, but I'm over 60 and I have a pre-existing condition. So
I think that's the point of this first statement is the cure for 2020 is the certainty in the 6 inches, my big head probably, the 8 inches in between your ears, right? That's the cure. And the cure for 2020 is basically mindset and perspective. And I maintain, Pops, and I will maintain this the whole way, that 2020 is a gift. I don't care what anyone says, you know?
That's a good attitude.
It should be the reset of the mindset and the gratitude and appreciation game, regardless of what you believe. What a better time to wake up and go, I'm just happy to be alive, and for the small things. Because, man, in this fast-paced world and country, if you don't have that, you're behind 8 ball. A lot of mental games, a lot of people doing things that they never did before. And what people never embrace is that radical shit has to happen in order for things to change.
I'll tell you one thing, and I know I'm not on your subject, but 2020 has taught me to appreciate so many things I took for granted. And in 2021, when hopefully all this really banks down and we could go back to a pretty normal life, I am going to appreciate everything so much more than I ever did before. That much I will tell you. But at the same time, I want to use my time more wisely. I want to produce more than I ever produced to make my production more productive than it was before. And you learn things from what happened to you this year to change what you're going to do the next year. Business, personal, and every other way.
So what I'm hearing, I think, is being intentional. Right?
Yep.
And I think that's so huge because a lot of people just go off with blinders. So I like where you're going with that, which beautifully segues into the alignment conversation. And this is a conversation that we've been having a lot because we've been going through this training that for our company with our management team that really sets you on a path of what are your values, what is your story, who are you, and are you aligned with that? And I used to have a problem communicating to people. Like, I used to think, well, I really don't want to have this person in my life, or maybe this feels so out of alignment. And I wasn't using that word, it just feels uncomfortable. And I'm like, I don't hate them, I don't hate my situation, do I not respect them? And I'm like, I was able to finally say, no, I'm just not in alignment with this person.
Right.
And the emotion completely gets taken out of it, because it isn't like I'm right or you're wrong, or I don't want to be around you anymore. It's just, our paths are going in different directions, and let's appreciate what we have. But it's pretty apparent that we're not aligned on our values, and it just doesn't
Easy
work.
way, when you were a kid, you had a certain friend, you see them 20 years later, and you both sit there and talk about the past, and you laugh, and then you look at each other and go, whatever we had in common, we no longer have in common anymore. So let's respect the great past and all those good times, but we're not in alignment anymore of what we want for the future or for now. So you move on with the great past behind you, but the past is not in the future.
So how does this play into the real estate game? So here's how it plays in. Alignment is also with growth. And you may be in, like you said, in alignment now, but you're no longer in alignment. So in relationships as well, you need to evolve and grow at a very similar path, because if you're in alignment and one person goes this way and you keep going this way, eventually, if you don't bring it back, you got problems. So the conversation is, are you in alignment with where you're at in your career? Have you outgrown your situation? Are you not prepared for your situation? Have you looked at your personal business, right? And one of the things I'm even hesitant to say, we've been getting ripped off so much by other companies with our ideas, but I don't care.
My mother said it's the greatest form of compliment.
But we've been really pushing deep into real estate isn't one size fits all, especially when you have 475 agents. And we've been on this 2-year path. It started with capping our company with agents, not getting rid of, I'm going to use better alignment words, giving agents permission to move on because they're out of alignment with our values, regardless of their results, because it was out of alignment. Because listen, when you don't like something, you don't realize it's just you're not in alignment with it, right? And you'll be like, this is the hardest thing in business. And the 4-Hour Work Week is a great book on this, is you don't realize you're being held hostage by a client or a relationship that you think is producing some result that you want, but the cost of that result is so taxing on your values that it isn't even worth it in the future. Does that make sense? Because that's that higher level game of how much of my values am I going to trade for the money or the result that I think I want. So that alignment game is super important. I think as a realtor, you really need to have that soul searching thing, like, why am I where I'm at? And
You know what a lot of agents say to me when I interview them? I don't want to hurt the broker's feelings. I'm embarrassed to tell them that they'll get angry at them. Those are the mild ones. The bad one is I'm afraid they're going to screw me out of my commissions. So a lot of people in life, take it out of real estate or your relationship or your gym, they're afraid to get in alignment because of the consequences of getting out of their present situation.
so people ask me all the time, how do I pick a brokerage? And I say it's never the model. The model plays a part, but you don't lead with it. It's the leadership. Well, what does that mean? And really, it's what are the values of the company? And does it align with your values? Does it align with your growth? Does it align with your environment? And we spent a lot of time in this game, my 20 plus years in the game, seeing it from every single angle. And listen, guys, this applies to whatever business you're in. You know, people will take less money to go to the place that works beautifully for them, right? People will do crazy things. So what you don't want to be in is a position where you're institutionalized, you're paying too much money, and you're out of alignment. Then it's like the trifecta of being in the wrong spot. On the same token, even coming from a company that really usually beats everybody on value as far as price, you also don't want to go to a company that just leads with being a commodity and just on commission and stuff like that. It has to be a balance, right? So we went through this, and I think every agent and every business and every individual employee should have these conversations. One, what are your values? Because with people, they're so focused on what money they're making per hour and whatnot. What are your personal values? I've been having this conversation, and find a company to work for or to align with or partner with that aligns with your values. And with us, it was super simple for us. We came up with it really quick. Just do the right thing, do the work, and level up. It was super simple. Doing the right thing.
They're very simple, Dave. They're very simple, but they're not. But go ahead.
And that's the thing. Everybody says integrity.
Yeah.
Until the agent who does 100 deals that is horrible to work with and no one wants to be around says, I want to come to your company. And they're all of a sudden, integrity goes down to the bottom and they're like, I just want your money. So integrity, doing the right thing, is truly doing the right thing.
It's a biggie.
It's huge. Now, doing the work, yeah, that's making the money. That's being hungry. That's beautiful. But you got to make sure it's aligned. And then, listen, we're not doing our job. And what gets me out of bed, Dad, is watching the progression of each individual person. From the people we employ to the people who are our agents to the relationships we have. Like, it's just like, if I can improve your life in some way, I feel like I'm not adding value. So leveling up and becoming a better version of yourself, that is huge to us. And then what Dan Sullivan calls is 3 uniques. And I think our uniques are tremendous. And as an agent, if you're watching this, you better have your 3 uniques. What are your 3 unique abilities? Because anyone can open a door, anyone can list on MLS. So our number 1 unique, to this day, I have not seen anyone copy. And what's that unique?
How good looking I am.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
Go ahead.
That he's saying go ahead because he doesn't know what I'm talking about.
God bless you. God's punished. See, I'm right.
You still don't have the answer. Our number 1 unique
Broker support.
is capping the company.
No, it's broker support.
Capping the company.
No, it is. We're the only, and you know what the thing,
bullshitting.
You know the one thing about that unique, the rest of the industry, agent and broker alike, are saying they're never going to do that. They're going to say 500, and when they hit 500, they're going to say 600. I've had people say it to my face, and I said, if you're saying that, you don't know Dave and I, because that's it. It's 500. That's it.
I think that's a tremendous unique because it's a commitment. It's a commitment.
I think it's a commitment just to not hire anyone. And I think it's a commitment not to live by numbers. People say, oh, do you see ABC? They're up to 600 agents. Do you see XYZ? They have 1,000. Yeah, guess what? 500 of them do 0 deals and 200 of them are at the division with complaints. So we don't need that number. Our commitment is more than a number, is what I'm saying.
It's also commitment to taking care of our own people first. When you're always in hire mode, you're not in growth mode in that respect, you tend to forget about the people who have already said yes. And that's the number one issue in most entrepreneurs, especially realtors, is that they're so busy on top line growth. They don't realize that the growth can come from their individual people already. And that's the biggest win. It's taking that marketing budget and flipping it upside down and marketing and putting the money into your people or you already have existing. When I see a company say, I'll give you $1,000 to transfer to my company, I'm thinking, why wouldn't you take that $1,000 and go invest it into your existing people? You see what I'm saying? So that commitment to say that, listen, we're not just going to grow our production numbers by agent count. We're going to have to grow it with the people we have. And that's the harder way to go. It's super easy to just hire as many people and then just get more deals. So that's a unique. The second unique, yes, is customized, personalized help with our brokers. And the third is meeting you where you're at. And the number one thing that realtors, I think, are kind of unsure about is what's next. And no matter where you are in your real estate career, or no matter where you are on your entrepreneurial journey, a lot of people have to figure it out the hard way. I was talking to this guy who's doing a bunch of carpentry and woodwork stuff for my house, younger than me, super great guy. And he's saying, like, I have too many clients and I'm not making enough money per deal. And, we were having these, it was just, and he's like, can I, take you for a beer sometime? And we just had a quick session, not even on purpose. And I'm like, you need to raise your prices.
After he did your work.
Well, that's the irony. I'm so honest. I'm like, you need to raise your prices. You need to hire better finishing people because he didn't do the painting, right? So he brings in painters that are not, and this is where you got to be careful, guys. Here's the best example. If you're a great agent with an okay broker, you're not in alignment. This guy is a great woodworker and he brings in the painters, screws up his work. And
then his service went from A to D.
And I'm like, the person you bring in to paint the work is just as important as your work, because you got the best woodwork in the world, but if the painter screws it all up, you're done. So that's part of that conversation of where you at in your entrepreneurial journey. Realtors are pretty much in 4 spots, but the reality is 80% of them are stuck in that first level of, I don't know how to put it together. And if I don't grind it out, I don't know what my results are going to be from year to year. And it's feast or famine, and there's no predictable results. But then when they put it together, they're like, I don't know how to sustain it with systems. Then they put it together with systems. I don't know how to run a team and hire people and work with people. And then they're CEOs of their company, and they don't know how to remove themselves from a lot of it and become owners. And each individual, whether you do 5 deals or 50, having a plan for each person, it's very important. Being able to have that conversation. So what I say is, like, listen, get the true ROI. And even at being in a company that is, we call it 100%, which I hate that. I hate calling ourselves 100%. I hate it because the connotations of it are so terrible, because the majority of them, unfortunately, have a bad rap. And I consider us a consulting and coaching company. Don't you agree with that?
My answer to that, yes, and that's what we are. But yes, some 100%, give you a bad rap. But there's some franchises that have that same bad rap. So
I agree.
I'm not caught up in that. I'm caught up in what you said, the individual company, what you represent as a company, what you offer as a company. We've had a pretty decent growth spurt this year, and people will say, what are you doing? And we don't call. Agents have called me and said, this brokerage called me today, this brokerage called me today. And they said, I'm happy at Urban Nest. We don't call because you know what? It's offensive to call. It's saying to them, first of all, I think it's disrespecting the other broker. Let's start there.
Well, don't get me started. The amount of brokers that call us for
Right.
advice and we freely give it. And then I find out that they're calling our agents. It's like a stab in the chest all the
Yeah,
time.
you see, to me, it's not a stab, it's classless. If your brokers are calling us for help and then they have a recruiter call our agents the next day, that's classless person.
Well, classless would be me naming each one that called me during the pandemic,
Right.
freaking out, saying,
Right.
what am I
And
going to
then
do?
3 weeks later, they call your agent and ask them to join. We don't do that here. We don't believe in it. We don't believe that that's what we should do. We have brokers talking to us on different occasions, and then they're calling our agents to go work for them.
Well,
Or
we've always believed in this. Like we send out emails, we do the videos. Listen, you guys
emails
are,
are non-evasive. You could erase it.
it's being it's being an information agent. Nobody wants that salesy shit, right? It's being an information agent. You know, if your information and your marketing to the general public and to your target audience is great, people become raving fans and they find you, right? I mean, you got to be living under a rock if you're not finding us, right? But having that call, like, are you happy? Like, I don't know. It is what it is. I don't want to knock the hustle. They do what they do. But where are you going with this?
Where am I
Lost your
going
train of
is
thought.
where am I going is that we were talking about appeal and what we do and what we represent. And I think we represent integrity. And integrity, someone asked me the other day that called me about joining the company. She said, why did he and she, two different people, become so more productive and successful when they came to your company? That's what the agent, smart agent, turned around and said, why? And I said, there's a multitude of reasons. Great broker support, many classes to tell you how to do it, the comfort of knowing that you're in a safe, secure environment, that knowing you can do your work and you don't have to worry, are the brokers going out of business? Is this changing? Am I not going to be secure here? Is there office drama that's going to affect? You could be in our company and get all the support in the world. It's stable. It's never bounced a check. And that security gives you a clear head to go out and just do business. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get too personal. You're in a divorce or something happens. You're in a bankruptcy. Your business goes to crap because you're worrying about personal, right? Your personal overpowers your professional. I think one of the things that we don't talk about, Dave, between us, we offer that safe, secure environment for them to succeed.
Yeah.
And that's part of the teaching and that part too.
I was talking to an agent who went from 19 the year before she came to us, 29 her first year, and she's going to do 58 this year.
Mhm.
We're going over her plan. And, you know, she was like, I don't know if it was just the right time or if it's I came, you know, she was going to probably go this direction one way or another. Right. But even when we had our annual meeting, that literally high level conversation, it wasn't like, because a lot of brokers, that's what they do. Just keep doing what you're doing. No. It was like, okay, now it's time to tweak. And literally the conversation was, I'm cool with you doing less transactions, which equals what? Less money for you and I.
Yeah, because we're transactions.
This is how fair. Less transactions, more average commission, get more of what you want, more protection, save some money. And then we talk about the feelings around the confidence and the certainty of having a rainy day fund, which then helps you grow even faster because now there's no scarcity in your game. You feel much more comfortable getting what you're worth, right? So then another agent who's a buddy of mine for a long time comes over doing 100 transactions, but is buying a ton of leads, has expansion teams. And he's like, I'm like, man, you're leaving a lot of money on the table because you're spending so much money that your take home is less and you're working twice as hard. If you're not at 80% personal referrals, you're basically traveling to China to get to Mexico. You're going the long route. And we had a real honest conversation tweaking his business where he does 20 less deals, makes more money, and has a better quality of life because he committed to changing and tweaking your business. Just because you start making $250, $350, $450,000 doesn't mean there's room and opportunity to change. Why are you smiling?
Because your conversation puts less money in our pocket, and that's who we are.
But
That's why I'm smiling.
But it does put less money in our pocket, but that person grows and that person becomes so happy and such a raving fan that they don't even have to recruit for us because there's no incentives. It comes out real. This isn't, oh, come be part of my expansion team so I can get your downline and I can do my MLM. No, it's this has changed my life. These are the people, boom, boom, boom. That's a legacy play. That's the last part of the game of when you start making the money and you're like, wait a minute, this money's not going to get rid of my problems. It's going to make me have better quality problems. But if I don't start linking purpose and quality of life and the rest of my life to this, then what's the point? You come over here and you're doing a ton of business, but you never see your family, you're out of alignment, right back at you out of alignment. And eventually your family issues are going to affect your business issues, and all that you work for is going to be gone anyhow. Bigger conversation around it. And you can't have that in-depth conversation and deeper conversation if you have 1,000 agents.
I agree. Even though we have almost 4 brokers with 475 agents, we have those conversations. I don't think there's many brokers doing what we do, but I can't tell you.
I hope they do. I hope they do. This is why we share the blueprint with everybody. Because there's 16,000 agents that we were only going to go with 500. We may have less down the line, right? So
no, but I mean, like, they get a listing and they're so excited, and then we help them price the listing. We help them tweak it. Right now, inventory is minuscule. Your house is on the market, not selling. Something's wrong. We go into that detail, which in turn creates the success. Because now, instead of
other brokerages do that. That's a different game, right?
I don't know. When I see things, I really wonder if they do.
But, I mean, I'm assuming other good brokerages. I don't think that's a unique. At least I hope it's not. Right?
Go ahead. Go to your next unique.
No, we talked about them all. I'm just listen, like, to me, that should be a given. Right?
I totally agree. I don't think it is, but I totally agree.
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to make this just an Urban Nest pitch, but I think this is the time to ask these different questions to yourself. I mean, I know you got a question recently. An agent called you and said, why am I giving my brokerage $50,000 a year? What am I getting in return? Right? Now, that's a monetary question. Now, I know you and I do this similar, but a little different. I have not talked to this agent yet, but I would say to them, if you're super happy and you think you're growing in alignment, then it's worth the 50,000. But if you think that you have room to grow and you're not getting that return on the 50,000, then it's time to level up. And then we got a spot for you to have a deeper conversation about where you are and what you can become. And that, I think, is a bigger distinction, because it's not just about the money. I think if you just chase the money and you make the change, like, I agree when people come after 100% companies and they go, well, 100% of nothing is nothing. I'm with you. But 80% of nothing's even worse. Right?
80% of 40,000 makes that 40,000 even worse. That's a great point.
Right? So I get it. I get where they're coming from. But, like, and then even worse, let me pretend that I give a shit. Because there's a lot of that. Like, they've been trained so much to pretend they care. I think that comes off really flat and really tone deaf. of, it's kind of like the relationship-based teaching that we do. People are like, oh, some people go, it doesn't work for me. I'm like, well, if Georgia loves to say this thing called commission breath. If you're trying to pretend that you care and you're calling them to check in, really all you got on your mind is you want to make money, then you have commission breath. And that's not a true conversation about caring and taking care of your people. What?
I like that commission breath.
Well, it's one thing to check up on your people and like just have how are you? How's the house? How's the family? Versus, oh, by the way, do you have any deals for me? No, 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 no. You're not doing it right. Like you got to be so focused on the give and the care first, especially, and then when the people are at the high, it's easy to call them and take care of them. But are you taking care of them on the way down as well? Right. And I think that's where I think a lot of people aren't having that conversation. Or they don't know. They don't give themselves that permission to have the conversation. I don't even think that they don't have the capacity. You know how Malcolm Gladwell says you need 10,000 hours to be an expert in something. How many hours do you think you've been a broker?
Well, I've been licensed coming 44 years. I started brokering in the early 90s, so you do it, I can't.
It was just a rhetorical question. You have hundreds of thousands of hours. At this point, if the amount of agents that we have been in contact with between being the owner of this company last 9 years, the broker and general manager of a previous company for 5 years, and in the business, about 40 combined years of, and also being president, both of us. If we don't understand people in this real estate game at this point, then we're just morons.
I like that.
You know what I'm saying?
Dave, I got my license at 18 and I'll have 40 years, 44 years. So I'm going to be 62 in June. So that's tough.
You are a funny one. So all I'm saying is, like, we talk about you improve your life by the quality of your life determined by the quality of questions you ask. A lot of the times we don't know what questions we should be asking ourselves. We just try to kind of go through life with faith. And what I'm saying is, ask yourself a question is, you've got to do an inventory at the end of the year and say, how do I grow? Where am I? What do I want? How do I get there? These are some questions you really need to ask. And am I in alignment, and what are my values? Am I in the right place? And
I think that's really important.
Right?
Yeah, because some companies do a program, an ABC program, and you don't want to do that program, but the company is known for that program. So now you're not in line with it, but you're stuck with it because that's what they do. So when you join a company, you can't say, I'm going to be Dave Tiner and I'm doing my thing, because you're not in line and you're going to be in that company and in that value.
All right. So I think we beat that dead horse. Let's just get into the real estate market. I wanna end with this. You got the puppy again.
Yeah, the puppy came running in.
Got the puppy again.
She came running in. I don't want to do poopy in the rug.
Got the puppy again. He's gonna use the puppy. You got the puppy again. So this abundance and scarcity mentality. Without going too deep into this, when people ask about the market, I think they're asking in a scarcity way, most people, where the rates are great, prices are going up, what's going to happen? I think people are so focused on trying to time the peak, and then they try to time the bottom, which is almost impossible to do, because you don't really know what the peak is until it's hindsight, and you don't really know what the bottom is. You know if you're going up, you know if you're going down. But the bigger question, I think the bigger conversation, asking the right questions, is, why does it matter? And I started having this conversation is because depending upon your background, you're either in a scarcity or abundance role. So, for instance, my dad was raising me. We weren't really in the best money thing. So I always tell this story, like, I wanted a 19-inch TV in my room. I remember it. How could I forget it? Because it's Toshiba, and we went to all of these. We went to The Wiz, we went to PC Richard and Son and Crazy Eddie and all these things. My father, money was such an issue that this is going to date us. This TV was $120. And we ended up waiting like 2 months and going to like 10 stores, and we finally found it after him haggling a million times for $99. And I remember saying to you, Pops, you remember this story? Holy shit, the amount of gas we spent just to save $20 and the amount of time. But I had to understand the value of the dollar because we didn't have anything for a long time. For a long time. Not we were poor, but like I wore my sneakers till my big toe came out of it, right? Like that's just the way the game.
We were paycheck to paycheck. Yeah.
Yeah. And which is so much of a great part of who I am, appreciating what I come from and having the hunger to grow and a value of a dollar. Those are all great, great lessons. But they can become destructive if you live like that for the rest of your life, because then you're in that scarcity play, and you can only play defense for so long. You have to play offense as well. So I watched my father, where defense for him was saving and being a fireman, very steady job. Offense was buying a second home and a third home. Offense was going in with 3 other partners and opening a restaurant and taking a chance. So most people only good at playing defense or offense. Very few could play both well, right? And then when it was my turn to grow up, after watching him play defense and offense my entire life, he wanted me to play defense. I got a degree in education. He wanted me to get a health care and a pension and whatever. And that was the time when I said, whoa, you played defense for so long. I need to go right into offense, because I watched. You played defense for both of us. Now it's time for us to go into offense. Now it's time for us to attack and double down on ourselves over and
Took
over.
me a while, but I came your way.
You did. But on the other end, my wife had the same, probably worse than me, had less than me. So we both play defense really well. We don't feel comfortable unless a lot of money is in the bank account, and off we go, right? But what happens is if you play too much defense, you lose out on opportunities in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what does this all mean? I was thinking about Bitcoin recently, and I've been reading a lot about it, and I thought it was bullshit for a long time. And with all the uncertainty and all the debt and gold standard and all that stuff, Bitcoin's probably going to grow over time. It's $20,000 a coin. So even if you throw $100,000 out of it, you're buying 5 coins, and there's a chance it may go down to 10,000. Now, if you're in scarcity mode, you don't even buy the Bitcoin because you're so fearful it's going to go down. If you're in abundance mode, if you play offense, you buy the Bitcoin, and then you go, you know what? I know Bitcoin's eventually going to go up, but if it goes down, I'm not even scared. You want to know why? I'm going to buy more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to buy it up and I'm going to buy it down. But in order for you to have that certainty and abundance, you have to bet on the fact that you're going to have the money to be able to play that game. That's how it is in the real estate market right now. What can you control, Pops, in this real estate market?
The interest rate.
Interest rate, you got it. Right?
Price, your price, what you pay is locked.
So what's the negative and what's the positive right now about the real estate market?
The negative is that, the positive is that the interest rate is unbelievable low.
Okay.
The negative is that the median price has gone up. So you're going to say, oh my God, I'm buying the house at the most expensive. But I'm going to talk about that because I thought about it when we talked. In 81, when the house interest was 18%, the house's price dropped, right? And I said to everyone confidently, buy, because The interest rate is never going to stay at 18. And when the interest rate goes down, the price of your house is going to go up. And I said that confidently. So now I'm saying, listen, 2.5% is never going to be there again. I could say that confidently. And you better buy now, because if you want to buy your house for a lifetime, that's a lifetime event of that interest rate.
Or let's not even say or, let's say and, because I could do a whole video on if you change the ors in your life to and, everything opens up. So and is this: you buy something on the high and you get the amazing rate. And let's say the prices bottom out 20%, you're probably going to make an additional 10% on the way up, because I think we're going to hit a fever pitch. Stimulus is going to come one way or another. Eventually the piper is going to have to be paid. We know this. That's just a cyclical game. But you're locked in. You're not over leveraged. That's the key. You're not house poor.
Right.
Even in a bad situation, you can make your payment. Okay, that's the key.
Also with that
But
low rate.
what is that, Dad? Is that defense or offense? That's defense.
Defense. But
Right.
with that low rate, you're going to find that even if the prices went up a little bit, it's going to be less than your rental payment. So a lot of people now think of a house as a bank account. In my day, it was your home. And that's what that principal residence should still be thought of. Can I afford it, like you just said, and can I afford it for the rest of my life? Through those 44 years, I've seen the market go like this. But if this is your principal home, so you guys know, it has never been the rates that are right now in my lifetime.
But let's say prices go down. Now,
Your payment's still the same.
but you could also play offense. See, because if you didn't over leverage yourself and you didn't go house poor, you kept that 6 to 12 months of savings. You kept your investment strong. You're still making compound interest. Now I know a lot of you just paying off debt is the first game. Okay. But a lot of you sophisticated. Then on the way down, you could play offense again, because then you're back to maybe your rates go up, but prices become very attractive. And then now, okay, you bought your own house on the high and you got low interest rates, but you're enjoying the hell out of your house. You're paying off your mortgage. You're getting your write-off. Win, 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 win. Prices come low. Buy again. So people want these arbitrary black and white answers that do not exist. They don't. Is it a bad market? Yeah. If you can't afford to buy and your house poor, it's a bad market. It's a bad market.
And if you can't afford to make that payment, if one iota goes the other way, it's a bad market.
It's a bad market. So you got to change your priorities immediately. But if you're disciplined, it's always a good market. There's always opportunity for the disciplined mind. That's the irony of that game. So I wanted to play that offense defense question because it's such a distinction of how can I be aggressive but also be protected at the same time. And all it comes down to is calculated risk. And you can make and take more risks and double down on yourself if you protect what needs to be protected first. And that looks like good credit, no debt, big down payments, good interest rates. That's where you keep winning and winning and winning. So it's a more nuanced conversation around whether us just going on here and saying the rate today is 2.75 and the median price is 350. That is a very small part of a bigger conversation. So agents out there, this is the conversation you have to have with your client because they don't know the questions to ask. There's a great part in this show I'm watching called His Dark Materials. Have you heard of this show? It's fantastic. And there was something, this girl is this really smart young girl, and she's like the chosen one. And she asked this question to somebody and said, what question should I be asking that I'm not asking? And I thought that was super, super interesting because we all want to come off like we know what we're talking about, or we all want to just understand everything. And we don't stop and say, okay, one last thing. What question am I not asking that I should be asking? I think that's a really smart question. So, all right. Since I'm talking to myself again and no Dave and Dave show is complete without him completely checking out
I
and
had
looking
to
at his
find out
phone,
where the puppy was.
because he has the rest of his friggin' day to do whatever he wants. He needs to check his phone while we're talking.
Don't assume. I was making sure when I put the puppy out that she wasn't eating the house down, because even though she's 2 pounds, she's capable of chewing on my dining room table.
Are we going to be here next week for one final Dave and Dave show on the 30th? We are. So
We are.
D
Oh,
and
you're
D,
reading the questions?
no, there aren't any questions. The D&D just comments. The D&D is 99 next week, and I guess that's perfect. We'll start
Oh, you'll love it.
100.
New year with 100 shows.
And I'm changing the name of it from the Dave and Dave show to the Dave versus Dave show, because I want to beat your ass. So 2 weeks in a row, we've had great conversation because I've been coming up with great content. Where are you gonna, pull your weight there, buddy?
I could come out with content, but you won't like it, and then you'll change it anyway. Don't give me, you just gave me the rolling eyes, just so you know. Look
Every
back on
time,
the
there's been a couple of weeks where I'm like, we doing it? And I'm like, and I don't have. Some weeks I'm zoomed out and I'm contented out. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Come up with a comment. And he goes, okay, then we don't do the Dave and Dave. I'm like, all right, exactly. That's what I thought.
It's your job.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys.
So,
I got Jeff Nagel. Your neighbor Jeff Pops, who you see all the time. He's
yeah,
commenting.
Jeff
We
sees
got
me walking.
Brittany on here. Merry Christmas to you. We got Miss Ashley McCormick. Happy belated birthday, my Sag sister, Diane Burnett. Good morning. Miss Connie Spanick. Connie, thank you so much for the gifts. You are very kind. Melissa White, I am definitely the offense. My husband is the defense. Great point. Listen, most relationships are the yin and the yang. And I like to say there's usually a pain in the ass in a relationship and then like a very like grounded, one's a roller coaster, one's this. I'm the pain in the ass in the Dave and Dave, but I'm the gregarious one. I'm the pain in the ass with me and Angie. Know your role, baby.
I'm the grounded.
But I may be able to take down a room 1 out of 10 times.
And Angie and I make sure that we band together against.
But 90% of the time, I'm the one saying, let's take a shot and let's tear this bitch up and let's have fun. So you got to know. You got to know who's offense and who's defense, and you got to get on the same page. When Angie and I got together, I joke, and this is what I say to her: if we're playing small, Pops, and we're playing too much defense, which is sometimes playing small, I'll say she's from Quad Cities. I'll be like, and I'm from Long Island, obviously. I'll be like, Quad Cities Angie and Long Island Dave need to get out of this conversation because they're not serving us anymore. And that's a conversation I have with a lot of our agents. You need to honor the place and the journey and the path that you've taken because it's always a part of you, but you need to move on. I used to feel guilty for growing and leaving behind some of my life. And one of my mentors said, whoa, someone asks you, oh my God, you've changed. And you'd be like, you're damn right I changed. What do you expect me to stay the same? I'm always growing and evolving, right? And
It's funny you say that conversation. I had one with an old friend, and he hadn't talked to me in 25 years. And he, like 3 sentences or 10 minutes in, he goes, is this Dave Tina? Like he was doubting he was talking to me. And I said, yeah, it's me. And it was funny that he didn't recognize the me. because that me from 25 years ago is not the same me now.
Unrecognizable. Is your
Right.
soul and your essence the same?
The same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But are you living more honestly and truthfully inside of who you are? Yes. Like you got to kill off parts of you in order to become the person you're meant to become. You know, they're saying that the definition of hell, I guess, is meeting the person you could have become when you die. Think about it. We were all in such competition with everybody else, whether we want to admit it or not. Imagine you met you, who's smarter, better relationship, better shape, better health, better father, better husband, better sex life, better bank account, better, more happier. Imagine you meet you that's living that better life or what you could have become. That's the game, becoming that person. And you can't become that person unless you leave behind. You know, I'll leave you with this. I know I did this with you. Um, Google Maps and playing that road game is fun, right? Like you can really pin yourself sitting on like 3D looking at the house you grew up in. And then you can kind of walk around your whole neighborhood. It's a wacky experience. And I've been meaning to get back to Long Island to show the girls where I grew up. And, you know, we're better at going back to where Angie's from because she still has a lot of family there. But most of my friends and family have all moved on. So not a lot of reasons for me to go back to Long Island. And I think it's interesting because I really want to go back there. I don't want to spend a lot of time at all, but I want to compare, not even compare. I want to see how I feel in that environment to kind of honor who I was and what I've become. Because one of my favorite posts every year, and I usually do it, is showing a picture of the 900 square foot house that you raised me in and the 150,000 mile Ford Escort that I drove. Because I think people need to understand that, and I need to remember that as well. Not as something that holds me back and makes me feel like an imposter, but something to be like really appreciate the journey and how far I've come. Do you ever feel that way, Pops? Like when I was sending you those pictures of like the places we grew up, like
No, no. Mine is more nostalgic of, uh, me raising you there and the fun and the laughs. I tend to take the hardship. I remember you told the story and about the car didn't have any bottom, and I forgot I was driving a car where the metal rotted out.
well, I tell the girls all the time. Angie and I try to tell them the stories of like, you know, we don't want them to be country club kids. Like it's a real tough game. Like you want your kids to have the network and the mindset of growth, but at the same time, you don't want them to be like these spoiled little shits, right? So I told them, I was like, listen, in cars that my dad had, I could see the road while we were driving.
Not many people can say that. That's
Like it was rotted out. Like I could see the road. And they're like, no. I'm like, ask Grandpa. Ask him. Right? Am I wrong?
It was instant air conditioning.
No car seats, and I'd lay down across that green velour or green fake on your lap while you were driving with a cigarette in your mouth. So it's been
I laughed. See, it's out past. It was fun.
it was good thing. So let's put a bow on this, right? So listen, some of this is about real estate, some of this is about life. This is the game. It's not, oh, business is different than your relationship. Your relationship is different than your health. It's comprehensive. You cannot look at your financial health without looking at the rest. We talked about it last week. The conversation is everything. The more you are a human being, the better you will be. The better you are at life, the better you will be at business. Super simple.
And I'll close it with mine. A lot of people are saying to us because of COVID, we always give a Thanksgiving potluck, and like 10 agents said, "Oh, Dave, I miss eating your meatballs for Thanksgiving. It's tradition. Oh, the parties that you and Dave give to celebrate the company. I miss all of us getting together and having that fun and laughing and dancing and eating. So, yes, it's all about all the things we talked about, but it's about that too. It's about caring for each other, being apart for each other. The happiness Dave and I have when someone succeeds is not, oh my God, we're going to get more money, but seeing that person become that successful, happier agent. And that's the biggest joy we have, I think.
And you know what? I'm gonna finish with what I add in every speech and every holiday and Christmas party we have. And that's in 7 years, in 10 years, and maybe Urban Nest doesn't exist. Maybe it does. Maybe you've moved on in your life and you live in another state. We're not going to remember the commissions. We're not going to remember the money. We're going to remember the relationships and the people. That's what you remember the most. You don't, you know, football players who retire, they don't say, I miss the money. They miss the camaraderie, right? Being part of the Las Vegas Realtors Gurgel VR, there's a lot of things I hated about it, the politics and the bullshit. But the one thing that I cherish are the relationships. It's how I felt when I went through it and who I was and how I changed. Our goal is to be like, you know what? That was a great part of my life. Dave and Dave were good people and they made me feel special and cared about, and I'm better for it. You could all remember that one restaurant or that one job or that one thing you were a part of that you remember, like the Landmark Cafe. People remember working there, your restaurant. They remember the Christmas parties. They remember the experiences. That's what it's about. Yeah, make some money along the way and have some fun. It was a good commission. It was a good time. But remember the experiences. That's what it's about. So.
On that note, have a happy holiday, and we will see you next week on New Year's Eve 2021. I never wanted a year to come in so much as 2021.
I'm not even answering that. We'll talk about that nonsense statement next week.
Bye.